Yeah, so we have a new cell here. It's basically like a precursor to cartilage cells. So it's shown to grow more cartilage, to grow cartilage quicker. We're the only place in the world where you can, go and get it off the shelf. And they actually do the same thing in the US, but they have to take the cartilage from you and then grow the cells from that. My understanding is that you don't get near the volume of cells, do 10, 20 million cells. Also those cells, like for me, my cartilage is 54 years old, so it's not going to be the same as some brand new cells. We're just starting to have the people that come back for tracking the results, and it's looking good.
Isn't medical technology crazy?
It's moving so fast.
Yeah, like even when I was a kid, like a torn Achilles, that's a career ender. Now guys are bouncing back from ACLs, Achilles, and like major injuries, super quickly, and even faster now that stuff like this is around.
Welcome to the CPI podcast. I got your boy here, Eryk. Man, it's great to see you, but it seems like I only see you when you're hurt.
Yeah, well, man, that's the great thing about this place, and the nature of the business of the sport that I play. It's you get hurt a lot.
Yeah.
But I've had like 7 or 8 surgeries, and I get that shit gets old really quick. So it's cool that there's a place like this where I can come to avoid surgery. Like right now, I got a torn labrum, and I don't want. I just had surgery on my foot because I broke my foot, and I don't want like another surgery that's going to put me out for even longer. So this kind of like expedites the process, and I should be back fighting here in no time.
Yeah, how's the foot doing? What exactly happened to that?
I broke it wrestling. I have what's called like a Liz Frank injury. It's like basically like across the middle. I broke.
Damn.
Something in there. Like I'm almost a podiatrist now. Like I never knew I never heard of that before. And they're like, oh, this. And so I got on the internet and I was like, oh. But I think Sean O'Malley had it. There's a couple fighters, a couple football players that have had it that have come back and done well. It just sucks because it's a weight bearing thing, so it takes forever to heal. You go from a cast to like a splint to a cast to a scooter to a boot, and now I'm like walking fine, and I've been training this whole time, so for like the last 3 or 4 weeks anyway. So
you would train with a boot on. I could just see you
didn't
out
have
there
the boot
with your boot on.
But the thing is, I broke it before my last fight, and I just like the matchup so much. I was like, dude, I'm not pulling out of this.
Oh, so
fight.
you broke it? I thought you broke it in the fight.
No, I broke it like.
So you fought with a broken
foot.
foot.
Yeah,
Savage.
Yeah. And but I had these shoes with me, and I just, the sole on these shoes are like so strong, they don't bend so much. So I just, tied my shoes up. I hit mitts and wrestled with these instead of like traditional wrestling shoes. And, then, went in there and fought. And then when you fight, you have all those endorphins and hormones going. It's like, dude, you don't feel that so much. So, yeah, now I finally got it fixed. And, hopefully this will speed that up as well.
It should. I know that the doctors wanted you. Hit me up. You were like, have you ever heard of this? And I'm like, nope, new one to me. Haven't heard of this. Yeah. We treated plenty of people for turf toe, but this is a new one. And they wanted you to wait a little while after the surgery to come down and stuff. So
well, I think it's because I had the cast on. So like, how are you going to inject?
So they're going to inject right into your foot, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah.
Through a cast. So I had to wait for that to come off, and then kind of for the stars to align and my schedule to clear up to make it down here, and now here I am.
Yeah. And was your shoulder before the fight too, or?
This has been like a lingering thing forever. The thing about this is like, they're like, it's not a big enough tear to do surgery, but yeah, it's still a big enough tear to like hinder my performance. And this is my left hand, my left arm, this is the moneymaker,
Yep.
So I need that.
Well, that's 100%. Good if it's not that bad. It should heal up really fast. Are they going to put the chondrocytes, the cartilage cells in there too?
When I'm down here?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Today, tomorrow? You're just like
whatever you want to put in
whatever
there.
Whatever you want to put in there. I'll ask them. That would be good. Get those cartilage cells in there. We're getting a lot of good results for people.
I haven't even heard of that.
Yeah, so we have a new cell here, and it's basically like a precursor to cartilage cells. So it's shown to grow more cartilage, to grow cartilage quicker. The other cells, of course, did grow cartilage as well. But Francisco, my business partner, the stem cell genius, he has a specific cell for cartilage. We're the only place in the world where you can, go and get it off the shelf. There's trials with it. And they actually do the same thing in the US, but they have to take the cartilage from you and then grow the cells from that. My understanding is that you don't get near the volume of cells, we do 10, 20 million cells. Also, those cells, like for me, my cartilage is 54 years old, so it's not going to be the same as some brand new cells stuff. So we're just starting to have the people that come back for tracking the results, and it's looking good. We're hoping to publish some data on that. We want to track people all the way out to a year and see how much cartilage we can really grow back for people. I've had lots of people that come down with their knees saying, my doctor says I'm bone on bone. I don't have any cartilage. But then we do an MRI and we're like, oh, no, you actually have cartilage. So as long as there's some cartilage there, the cells can attach and grow off of that.
Oh, man.
And people have been doing good with it.
Isn't like medical technology crazy?
It's moving so fast.
Yeah, like even when I was a kid, like a torn Achilles, that's a career ender, for football. And then, you see some of those guys, the incisions are all, from their ankle all the way halfway up their calf. Now guys are bouncing back from ACLs, Achilles, and like major injuries, super quickly, and even faster now that, stuff like this is around.
Yeah, well, soon we'll have these stem cells in the U.S. and people will get insurance to pay for them and stuff. UFC's been super supportive with having people come down and treat people. A bunch of people been here that never make it to Instagram because they don't want anybody to know they're hurt, which I can understand. In that profession, the last thing you want people to know is if you're hurt and stuff. And so it's been cool, man. We've been getting a lot of results. There's a bunch of guys, there's probably 10 people back with you this week, something like that, 8.
Yeah.
And most of them are super happy with their results. So
yeah, like I said, this is my third time down here, and like probably the biggest thing that I needed treated is I had a bunch of bulging discs, like 3 bulging discs in my neck, and it was really hard to like turn my head. Like I felt like Batman, he's got to do the whole thing. But now I think that was maybe 2.5 years ago that I did that, and my neck, it's like.
And you didn't take much time off.
No, y'all recommended 6 weeks. I did the 6 weeks, and gradually got back to training. But now my neck, like I have full range of motion. It doesn't hurt. My fingers don't go numb.
That's great
anymore. So that right there was like.
You can feel those punches connecting better now.
Yeah, well, I can turn my head. So this is like my lead side, so I have to turn. It's not like I'm right-handed and my left is in front and I have to turn this way. I have to be able to look over the shoulder. You know what I mean? So, and for wrestling and stuff like that, you shoot a double leg and you kind of steer them with your head. So, it's like you don't want to remove a whole element of your game. I didn't want to take the grappling out of my fighting because you can set that up, use that to set up punches or actually take somebody down and stuff. So you need
not at your level. You gotta have every tool you can get, man, for sure. What do you think was harder on the body, like NFL or MMA?
For sure NFL, because there is no tapering. You know what I mean? During the season, especially in college, because it's year round. You go from the season and then you do spring ball. So it's basically year round. So you really don't get ample time to heal and recover. And then on top of that, I was lifting as much weight as I could, which always made my back and my knees hurt. And then even in practice, you're getting in these miniature car accidents. Yeah. And then in a game, everybody's amped up and it actually matters now. So everybody's going harder, running faster, hitting harder, doing everything more. So after games, it would really, for real, feel like I was in a car accident. Just everything hurt. If something hurts, something bothers me, I can, take some time off. Or if I have a super intense day one day, the next day I can tone it down a little bit. Or if I'm going to spar that day, that first training session of the day, maybe a little bit lighter. So, you can kind of tailor your training schedule for how you feel.
And train other disciplines that might not bother it.
Yeah, and just lower the intensity. You can just free roll jiu-jitsu and just be like, hey, this and this hurts. So let's just flow. And if you have a good training partner, it can really be a real flow. Sometimes it ain't like that. It's like, hey, let's flow, and then it you turns into a real match.
The ego comes in.
Yeah, sure. So, you can tailor your your training schedule for how you feel and what you have the next day or what you had the day before. Football, it's like, yo, we're hitting.
And you're on the line, right?
Yeah.
So every single time.
Yeah. It's not
Even
like
in
I played
practice,
like
how you guys are.
receiver or DB. Like sometimes those dudes don't like take contact during the play, but I basically played defensive end, outside linebacker, but I had my hand in the ground, basically playing defensive end. So every play, I was hitting something.
Car wreck every single play. That makes sense. We've had a couple retired NFL guys come down, and man, they're beat up, super beat up. Yeah.
Especially, obviously, the longer you play. And the thing is also, I started playing when I was 7 years old, so from 7 to, 24, 25, I was doing that, you know what I mean? And then obviously the older you get, the next level you make it to, things get intensified, they get bigger, stronger, faster. And so everything is just more and more and more. And then you train more, you lift more, you practice more. The guys you practice against are better, and then when you get to college, these guys are coming from all over the nation. You know what I mean? Then you make it to the NFL. These are like the best guys. There's only 53 people, so there's only like 300, some odd, players in the NFL. And, there's like 125 per Division I college. So that's like a very small population of the biggest, strongest, best, most athletic, the best players in the nation. So it's like, you're playing. There are no slouches in the NFL.
So there's more fighters on the UFC roster than there are guys playing in the NFL. Is that right?
Yeah, I think there's 700 fighters.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah,
but that's like across 8 or 9 weight classes or whatever,
right? Yeah,
men's and female. So even that number.
So theoretically, it's easier to get into the UFC. There's more spaces to get into the UFC than there is to become an NFL fighter.
And like the difference between the NFL and the UFC is the NFL is the United States. Like no one really plays. There are some like other countries that are like developing like football leagues or whatever, and there are kids coming even to college from Europe. I think Alabama's got a tight end from Sweden or Switzerland or something like that. But for the most part, it's predominantly in the United States. MMA, the UFC, dude, these guys and girls are literally from every corner of the globe. So, like, there's a lot more people trying to fight than there are that are even able to play football. So either one is like, dude, you got to be good. You got to be tough.
You got to be good both, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's definitely, anytime you get to the top level of a sport like that, you got to be you got to be super elite, I mean, you did it both, and you wrestled too?
I got like JV level experience wrestling. My mom was in the Air Force, so we moved around quite a bit. So I wrestled in Maryland, and then we moved to Texas after my freshman year of high school. And football reigns supreme in Texas.
Sure does.
And everything else is a far second. And my school didn't even have wrestling, so that was that.
That's how you made the transition. There's a lot better career in football if you can make it than in wrestling.
Yeah.
As well.
And even like the Olympic ladder, like they seem to be cutting weight classes for wrestling. I don't know why or what the reason is, but I think there's only like 7 or 8 weight classes for wrestling in the Olympics, maybe even less.
Weren't they talking about getting rid of Greco-Roman or something like that too?
What's that?
Weren't they talking about getting rid of one of the disciplines of wrestling from the Olympics altogether, like Greco or something?
I don't keep an eye on it. I know like several years ago they were talking about removing wrestling altogether from Olympics, which is for me like, it's weird because, wrestling is like the first sport ever.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the Greeks were doing that, however long ago,
All those crazy old statues. Yeah.
So it's like how you remove the oldest sport, but then you have like power walking in the Olympics. I'm like, dude, that's not an Olympic sport, dude. That's like
the Olympics
for geriatrics.
It's not. A lot of people are always like, we gotta get jiu-jitsu in the Olympics, and I'm like, no, because I was a pro snowboarder before, and in my opinion, when snowboarding got put into the Olympics, it kind of ruined it. It took all the style out of it. You had all these people that were judging that probably never even put on a snowboard, and all of a sudden they were saying what the most valuable tricks are, moves and stuff like that. And I know there's a lot of judo people that are not happy with how the judo's evolved because of the Olympics. So for me, I don't think the Olympics is like the end all.
The judo, people who do judo don't like it in the Olympics. It's pretty like cut and
They
dry.
don't like
right?
how they've changed the rule set to modify it. You can't grab the legs. There's different things that you can't do.
That's not how judo's always been, though. Like
No.
It's always an upper body thing.
No, yeah, you could grab the legs. You could do a bunch of stuff like that before. Yeah.
I don't know anything too much about judo. So.
Yeah. So I don't know a lot about it either, but I have some friends that are super into judo. Yeah.
But I feel like jiu-jitsu is like the point system. I think the problem is like what system are you going to?
What
like,
rule set?
Is it going to be IBJJF? Is it going to be like submission only? Is it going to be gi, no gi? What? How are we scoring this thing? What are
I think
the
it's
rules?
just better to leave it out.
Yeah.
It's so much better now with like ADCC and some of these other events, Seth Daniels event and stuff, and where people are making money, and it's more, to me, it's more exciting. Some of those old I lived in Brazil and competed in Brazil for 3 years, and some of those jiu-jitsu tournaments is like watching paint peel. You're just like,
10 minutes.
You hear the crowd like scream, you're like, oh, something happened. Which mat?
Yeah, some of those black belt matches, adult black belt matches, they're 10 minutes. So, like, dude, 10 minutes is a long time to wrestle or grapple or whatever. So they kind of, like, stall each other out.
On a slow
Sometimes,
pace.
not all of them, but, like, it's very, like, they say it's, like, I think they give it too much, like, they say it's methodical and they're playing chess. Dude, they're not trying to get tired. They're not even doing anything sometimes. And I think, like, the no-gi stuff is way more exciting because they're kind of like, who cares if he passes my guard? Who cares if I get taken down? So I think they take more risks with the finishes. I'll jump for a guillotine or whatever because if I don't get it, it's not, and he passes my guard, there's no points. So I'll just, like, move on to the next submission. So I think, like, from a fan standpoint, from someone who doesn't watch jiu-jitsu or know anything about train jiu-jitsu, watching some, like, ADCC matches are way more interesting and intriguing and, brings, like, a different demographic of fan to the sport, which is why they're making money. You watch a gi match, it's kind of...
It's like golf.
It's, like, too slow, you know what I mean? Like, you have to, like, know... Exactly. Like, if I watch golf, I think it sucks because I don't play golf. I don't know what the strategy is. I just say, I go to Top Golf, and I try to crush it. You know what I mean? Hit as far as I can. And I have no understanding, like, putting on a green, it's difficult. Some of those courses, like, that grass is, like, smooth and, like, I don't know. So if I don't know what I'm looking for, what I'm watching, then I'm just like, I'm going to change the channel. You know what I mean?
I agree. I mean, ADCC, what Mo and those guys have done, like, it's like a whole nother. I went to the last one in Vegas, you know, and it was awesome. It's legit, It's like, this is legit, yeah. I did the first jiu-jitsu grappling tournament ever in Las Vegas. It was like 2000, 2001. It was in a high school gym, Damn. Now they're like selling out Thomas and Mack with fancy lights and fireworks.
Yeah, and I like it's like tournament style. Like we have trials here, 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 and here, from, all over the world, basically. So you go win or place or whatever, and now we take all you guys and put you in one place, and now you go grapple, the best people from across the planet. Versus like if you win worlds here, some Brazilians can't get their visa to come here, So are you really like the world champ? You know what I mean? Because this guy can't even get here. Maybe he can't afford it. Maybe he can't get a visa or whatever the issue. You're like the best person in America, but, I think that's far from the world. You know what I mean?
I think the best guys can get in these days, but it is different level. Like when I went down to Brazil, I went from all the way from Amazonas. I was up there with Fredson Paixão and Jacare, all the way down to the south of Brazil. Stop, surf, train jiu-jitsu, and I mean, you would hit some of these small, like up in Manaus, bro. There's some beasts up there that are like never gonna, get afford to go anywhere or do anything that would just wreck shop at,
Yeah, sure.
any local tournament, that's for sure. They wrecked me. I got wrecked a lot in Brazil. Yeah. So nice. What's coming up for you next after we heal you up, big guy?
Hopefully, mid-December, I get these screws out of my foot, and then they should clear me to train. You know, even though I've been doing so anyways. But clear to fight is the main thing, because they're not going to let me. They're not going to sign a contract like until I'm cleared by the doctor. So hopefully that happens in December, and then hopefully the first quarter of next year
April we got UFC 300, right?
Yeah, where's
Isn't
it
it coming up?
Yeah, well, I guess
I don't know where it's
where
coming up, but the numbers are adding up to where it should be right around the corner.
Yeah,
here.
so that'd be dope. You know, my birthday's in April, UFC 300.
There you go.
Let's go out there.
Let's go, Dana.
Yeah.
Like I have any pull, but
he might hear this.
You might, I doubt it.
Or Mick Maynard, you know, he's the matchmaker. You know, him and Sean Shelby are the guys behind the curtain. Dana's just the figurehead.
He's Dana.
You know, so they're the ones who kind of put the matchups together, and then, you know, they figure out where they're gonna go, like what card they're gonna put it on.
Yeah, I started training jiu-jitsu with Sean back in the 90s.
No shit.
At Half Gracie's back in the day. You're asking me if I ever fought before? No, I never fought.
You're smart.
But when I started, maybe not. But when I started jiu-jitsu, we saw the Gracie Challenge, right? And so on any given day, you could show up to class and some guy would walk in and want to take the Gracie Challenge. And
is that like dojo storming?
Dojo storming, yep.
Yeah, the whole squad.
Well, the UFC was illegal at the time. Like it had just kind of like gotten to its like dead spot, and so there was some fighting on Indian reservations, and one of my teammates was fighting for $500, and he got his orbital and his nose broken. No, it was with gloves, and I can't remember which event it was, but it was out on one of the Indian reservations. He was like 19 years old. His family's insurance found out that it happened with him fighting and dropped him off the insurance. And at the time, I had a good Silicon Valley job, you know?
Yeah.
And, but we would fight people when they would come in off of the street. But it was a lot of the, we weren't really trying to throw too many punches unless it was to take somebody down. But on Half would always pick the small. We always had a white belt enforcer. For the longest time, BJ Penn was our white belt enforcer. Guys would come in and see BJ. He was like 130 pounds back then. And Half would be like, okay, fight BJ. You beat BJ, you can fight me.
Yeah.
And he would smoke these guys, you know. And
he was a white belt? BJ was a white belt?
BJ was a white belt.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Not for very long.
Yeah.
But there was a time period where guys would come in off the street. Dave Camarillo was another big one that was there. And so that was always a crazy thing about jiu-jitsu class, was like, you never knew, like, okay, well, who is this guy? I don't know.
Yeah, there's no internet.
The first time I got put in that challenge situation was an Army Ranger guy that was probably like 185, 190 pounds. I was pushing like 155, 160. I was scared to death, man. I'm like, this dude, I'm gonna fight this dude. I'm a white belt, you know what I mean? But back then, if you knew some jiu-jitsu, you can whoop anybody's ass, you know?
It is the same now, you know? If you...
Yeah, but now some nerd at the bar could, with the glasses on, could twist you up into a pretzel.
If he knows jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, but there's so many people training now, you know what I mean?
You're right. Yeah, you look at like...
I'm talking like 96, 97, you know? Like nobody that was training jiu-jitsu, like you could walk into the bar and it's like, if I don't know you, I could be, we used to go dojo storm the judo clubs or the other martial arts places or the Stanford wrestling team, you know. Like, yeah, there were beast wrestler guys that could come in that could, pick me up and slam me around, but they didn't know any submissions, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, thanks for the guillottine. Like, I'm just gonna roll this omoplata off this single leg.
Yeah.
It was so easy.
That
now
was a nice double leg. Now you can't breathe.
Yeah, sure. I'll jump guard. Thank you, you know. So, after that, man, I was already like 26, 27 years old. I saw him. He won his fight by triangle, but got his face smashed in. And I was like, man, there ain't enough money in this it ain't worth it.
Dude, that's the thing. That's the thing I think that people don't understand about MMA. Dude, you can get fucked up and still win. He's like, I've had my face broke like in 4 places, and I won. You know what I mean? I won the fight. I was like, dude, that doesn't make sense to say that out loud. But I did. I won a decision, but I was like, I damaged this nerve in my face. Like, dude, I got fucked up myself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But at the end, they were like, yeah. So like when you win, it like
The
makes
next
you
day,
pain.
you're like, I don't feel like a winner.
But dude, at the bar, like, you know, at the end, like I was telling him, I was like, yo, my face, it don't feel right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, don't worry. So it's like, nah, dude, like I'm telling you, I've been hit in the face a lot. This don't feel like that. And yeah, I went to the doctor and he was like, yeah, this, and this broke. But it wasn't like so much, it was just like cracked. You know what I mean? It wasn't like broke so much that like, you know, the bone shifted, so I didn't need any surgery or nothing like that. But as soon as he hit me, like at the end of the
Which fight was this?
Gerald Mershart. I fought him, and at the end of the second round, like I'm in the corner, I was telling my coach, I was like, yo, I think he broke my face. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I think he broke my face, dude. And he was just like, all right, so what we need to do going into the third round, like he completely ignored. I was like, dude, I don't know if this is serious or not, dude. But
He's like, you better go break his.
yeah. He was like, dude, just, you know, he's completely ignored. And that's probably like the proper course of action, because what's he going to do in the middle of a fight? You know what I mean? It's not like I was like panicking or anything. But I was just like, dog. You know what it felt like? I feel like, you know, we go to the dentist and they give you a Novocaine, and you, like your mouth feels like fat and puffy. Dude, that's what my whole cheek felt like. And so I was just like, you know,
for how
poking.
long?
Maybe like a week or so. But then the doctor was like, yeah, you're gonna feel that nerve like regenerate or grow back or whatever. And it did for like 6 months, 6 or 8 months. Like every now and then I'd feel like electricity run through my face and like make my lip tingle or you know move or whatever. And I was like, I don't know if that's good or bad, but you know, but now like it's not, you know, there's no like permanent damage or nothing like that.
That's good. And one thing about MMA too, I've helped out in a bunch of camps, is like, even if you win your fight, it just means you got your ass beat for 3 months. You know, like
yeah. Especially, dude, the thing now that like the matchups are so, they do such a good job matching up skill level. Yeah, you do watch some fights and some dude gets throttled in, you know, 30 seconds or whatever, but they do a really good job of making sure that doesn't happen, because they do want like competitive fights. Like if you turn on a pay-per-view, yeah, you want to see finishes, but you want to see the build-up. You know what I mean? You don't want to pay $70-$80 for, you know, a 10-second fight. You know, you want to see them beat each other up or like competitively fight for however long the fight lasts, but they want the fight to go a little bit before that last punch.
People want to
whatever.
Be entertained. I went to shoot box down in Curitiba one time, and those
dude,
guys tried to get me to come in and train there. I was like, get out of here, man. No,
but
no
dude,
way.
even like doing jiu-jitsu in you know, Brazil especially, I've trained like a lot of places, but especially in Brazil, dude, they take it seriously. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to pass somebody's guard, a Brazilian's guard in Brazil, it's almost like they take it like as an insult. You know, the match immediately picks up intensity if you pass their guard, and you know, and it's cool, it's whatever, because it's just jiu-jitsu. Like you might get like, you know what I'm saying, your face like a little gi burn or, you know, whatever. You're not, you know, too much gonna get hurt really, but you know, be prepared to like fight. You
turns into a furuncle, staph infection,
yeah.
ringworm on all those clean gis down there.
Yeah, they definitely reuse them.
That's the more dangerous part than actually getting hurt. You know, I actually broke my back training with Golar. You know, Daryl Golar.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was training the MMA class at his wrestling school in Rio and got slammed.
You felt it immediately.
Actually, I fractured 2 ribs and separated my floaters, and that hurt so bad I had no clue about my back. I didn't find out till my back years later. I was running down an escalator in China with a suitcase. I felt this huge pop in my back. It was my S1L5 rupturing. And when I finally got x-rays and an MRI, the doctor was like, did you get hit by a car or something on the side of your, you know, he's like, all the trauma's here in your ribs, and on that side of your spine, you have 3 stress fractures and 3 vertebrae. And I was like, oh, I know when that was. That happened wrestling.
There was no car.
He was like, what? And I'm like, yeah. I took down this Brazilian guy. He got mad and body slammed the shit out of me. And
Did you make your flight
you know,
that you were running to in China?
I was running. I was actually running to catch a bus to go to a hotel. Actually, not a flight. Yeah, but I was running down an escalator that got turned off, and I just had a suitcase and bop. But I was on a flight a few days later in unbelievable amounts of pain. They gave me Chinese morphine, which was awesome. And then when I got to America, they tried to tell me I was having a stroke, that it wasn't my back.
No, it's just
and I'm like, no. They're like, well, if you're back, you're not in that much pain. I'm like, I'm eating Chinese morphine, you know? So,
pulse is like 5 right now.
Medical system. Well, we're worried that you had a stroke. I'm like, I did not have a stroke. So
you couldn't talk? Like you were like talking like that for real?
I was in pain, dude.
Yeah.
Like that. I woke up the next day, the sciatic nerve pain down this leg. I could barely move the leg. I couldn't get out of bed. I got out of bed. Then I just lay flat on the floor, on the cold tile floor. And I was just waiting for the nerve to stop firing my back, to stop twitching. And it took a couple of days. And then when I finally felt good enough to go get some McDonald's, because it was the only thing I wanted to eat around there, I was scared of everything else. I'm walking across the street and I get run over by a scooter. I'm like laying I needed like one of those, help, I've fallen and I can't. I'm like literally like laying there writhing in pain, or people are just like looking at this, I'm out in the middle of nowhere where some factory was in China, and people are just like looking at me. I'm like, I guess no one's gonna help me out of the street, like
the army calling out of there.
Where's my McDonald's, man? I gotta get back to the hotel. And then I got back on a plane and
no
cut
Uber
my
Eats
trip
back
short.
then, huh?
What's that?
No Uber Eats back then. Huh?
I don't even know if they have it in China now, but not where we were. I was out making jiu-jitsu gis in China and boxing gloves and stuff. We were out in the middle of nowhere. It's bad when McDonald's is the safest thing to eat. Not because they didn't have food, but like I had gotten food poisoning on so many. I went back and forth from China for about 8 years, 2-3 times a year. I got food poisoning so much. The first trip, I'm like, yeah, Anthony Bourdain, I'm going to eat anything. First meal I had, bro, I didn't even make it through the whole meal, and my stomach was like, what did you just do?
You eating some octopus or some puffer fish or
something? I don't know, man. Some fish stew on rice. It tasted good, but it didn't come out so good.
I don't know.
Not at all. The adventures. I mean, you got to deal with that when you travel to fight, though, too, right? You bring all your own food, or
I go to places like Brazil and Canada to fight. They're actually going to Shanghai, I think, in December. But
I've got a little food poisoning in Brazil, though, too. They got some funk down there. I don't know. I'm not allowed in Canada, so I don't know.
No? You got some felonies or what?
No, not felonies. A mutual combat. Street fights.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm sure I could get it. It's been so long.
The last time I went there, they asked for like my fingerprints. I just fought there in June. They asked for my fingerprints, my criminal history, this, and this, and man, you're a young man,
We did dumb things.
I got some charges, Nothing like
too.
major, you know what I mean? But they were like, yo, I don't even know if we're gonna let this guy in the country. And I was like, listen, I'm paying taxes there. They're like, I don't understand. I don't want to stay here. Trust me. I like where I live. It's way cooler. But then I get there, I get out the thing, and they don't ask me any questions. They didn't even stamp my passport.
Yeah.
I literally just walked off the plane, went through the thing. How long are you going to be here? What are you doing here? Bye.
Interesting.
I'm like, dude, you made me like...
Yeah, it's been a long time since I tried, but I tried to go to a trade show up there, and I applied and everything, and they got nope.
Yeah.
You ain't coming, homie. So, what are you going to do?
Find another trade spend your money somewhere else.
In a whole different industry. Yeah. There's plenty of other countries to go to. I'm not missing anything, especially Canada the way it is these days. I'm fine.
Yeah. There were the people up there, just talking to them, they all didn't have very many good things to say about the direction it's heading. And I'm not even into politics. I wasn't even inquiring about how the country was ran. I was just like, yo, how do you like it up here? And they're like,
yeah. Well, we have a lot of Canadian patients that come down for both cancer and stem cells, autoimmune, and the cancer patients have the biggest nightmares.
Really?
Ever. I always tell them, I'll go tell these Americans like how this socialized medicine really works.
Yeah. Put you at the end of the line. Right?
They always say, we've had patients had to wait 8 months to get a PET scan. And then if you even question your doctor or you want to do anything other than what they say, you could be removed from the program. Just really bad stories. My cancer patients that are Canadians, like they usually stay down here a long time because they're so dissatisfied with the treatment that they're able to get up there.
Really? You don't need Canada doesn't need a visa to come here. They can just buy a plane ticket and bounce.
No, they just come down here. Yeah. There were some issues over COVID, mostly with them returning.
Yeah.
It was tough for them to get back into the country. Most of our cancer patients didn't want to get vaccinated. Almost none of my stem cell patients are.
Yeah, sure.
And but during that period, it was tough for them. But it's inexpensive for them to come down here, stay here, and the weather's nicer.
Yeah.
So it's good for them, man. Well, cool, buddy. I want to thank you for being the first guy to give us a shout out on Joe's show.
Oh man, appreciate it. I just spoke the truth. It's
thing.
not like I wasn't. People ask me sometimes, did they pay you? Did they do? I was like, dude, no, I didn't even remember the name of the place that I came to at the time. You know what
Close
I mean?
enough. People figured it out. Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, it was genuine. It was real. Like my neck really does feel better.
I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, people frequently ask me like, oh, how much do you pay Joe Rogan to talk about you guys? I'm like, you think I have enough money to pay Joe Rogan to do anything?
Yeah.
You clearly haven't seen my bank account to realize that's not a possibility. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you. Glad you're doing so much better. And feel free to not come back for a while. That's okay.
Yeah, well, dude,
Get healthy. Stay healthy.
If I could stay healthy, that's the key. That's the problem.
Yeah. All right.
We'll figure it out.